My approach is always solutions. I'm not going to identify all your problems. That's not the role. It's to look at and see what is happening and to make that change. Whether it's in education, well, we can talk about education. Common Core within the 7 communities, how it's being implemented or not implemented is totally different. In New Canaan, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's a success. They've made it work. I've met with people on the Board of Education, board members. They've been able to handle it only because of the way they had developed their curriculum before. They didn't have to wait for Common Core. They were at such. Now I realize their property taxes and the economics of that community are different. They're different than Wilton. They're different than Westport. Definitely different than Richfield. Other communities, they're struggling. Reading is definitely struggling. Bethel, they're struggling. But it's a mandate, and of course, I am against these unfunded mandates. Some people ask, is there an R or D after your name? And they asked me that. It was at the Westport, a couple of weeks ago, the Westport debate, which is a very heavy Republican. And they said, we know it says D after your name. Are you sure? It's not about an R or D. I don't come in with that philosophical bent. My own overall, I said, it takes a village. I'm not a demagogue when it comes to right or left. I'm not at that point in my life where I'm about to change the world, that we need a new foreign policy or something. I just want to make it work and go forward. So that's a Common Core. Wilton has the same problem with Common Core as quite a few other municipalities, not being ready for it. And that was the big problem in its rollout. The towns were not ready for it. But New Canaan was able to. Reading, Bethel, Richfield, it's a different story. So it depends on where the community was. I can't imagine the problems that are coming up in the larger communities, specifically Bridgeport, Stamford, Hartford, where there were problems in the educational system before. Now we're taking it almost out of the teacher's hands as to how you're going to teach and what the results should be at the end of the year. That's Bill Gates may have been right when he came up with Common Core, but it's good at the top. The problem is the bottom can't handle it. Yeah. My role, or how I can help Wilton, one way or the other, there are 2 opportunities. One is they're going for a state bond. Part of that $50 million is on the premise that they will get an $8 million bond from the state of Connecticut through the Department of Education. Remember, nobody can promise you. Everything goes through the bonding commission in Hartford. No one agency can say, I'm going to write you a check for $8 million. So being there on an advocate for that rehabilitation of the Miller Driscoll schools, that's kind of important. As opposed to, I'll say my opponent, and both the representative and in this case the senatorial, they are totally against bonding. I understand none of us want to grow up and have debt. I've been there, and probably everyone has been there. But debt is debt, used successfully. But if you're always going to vote against bonding just on the general principles that we shouldn't have state debt, our educational system will collapse. Local municipalities do not have the money to support themselves when it comes to construction. Their tax base just isn't there. Without that $8 million, by the way, Wilton could not afford that school. But it was the Department of Labor. And what has an immediate effect on everybody? And going into their policies and procedures and how they operated. And I've already presented to the public things that are happening by looking from the outside and how they operate, and which is really based upon my consulting experience and financial experience. I did teach management accounting at the University of New Haven in the evenings as an adjunct professor, and how I got to that was while I was recruiting candidates for our consulting practice. I was disappointed in the educational experience of the candidates. I called the University of New Haven because we had gotten people were graduating. And I said, there's a problem. They don't know enough. They should know from the academic side. They weren't ready for us, but we want to hire them. We want college graduates. And they said, well, if you're so smart, why don't you come here and teach? Not that I'm so smart. That's not strong C, although I did have A's in college. I accepted the challenge, and I was teaching graduate management accounting over at the University of New Haven. And by the way, prior to that, when I was with St. Regis, I'm the contributing author to the college-level textbook called Cost Accounting, Control, and Analysis, published by John Wiley, which did an evaluation of the forest products. We used St. Regis Paper Company, their forest products division, as an example for cost accounting and using mathematical models in determining the cost of products. What I bring to the table is the inquisitive nature of not looking straight ahead, but looking to the side and how it comes together and how it should come together. Not that it's my opinion, but it's based upon what I've seen for so many industries across the United States.